Hello everyone, welcome to this video about rhythm playing and specifically about recent experiences I've had during jams in Samoreau. But more about that later. First, some housekeeping. I already made a post about this on Facebook, so you can check my Facebook post for more details. But I'm planning to make a new top 10 guitars video. I already made one 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, and I've met many people over the years who have actually purchased guitars based on that top 10 video, even though that video is not really a top 10 in the sense that we were rating guitars. They were more top 10 experiences we've had with certain guitars. And of course, the guitars on that top 10 are great. But I figured that it was time to make a new top 10 video with a little bit more thorough approach, in the sense that I would try more guitars and also that I would rate them on a scale from 1 to 5, or that might change based on different parameters. And for now, I've chosen to rate them on sound, the first aspect or parameter, and the second one is playability, which basically means how easy is it to play on the guitars in a real life jam situation or concert situation and still get a good sound. And the third component, maybe the most important, is the price quality relationship. And I will weigh these ratings differently. I have to think about that. And I've started the process of rating guitars during the festival in France, and I already have, I think, 16 guitars rated. And I'm making the top 10, or I'm planning to make the top 10 during the festival in Mill Valley near San Francisco in September, together with Tommy Davey. And I will be giving you my top 10 guitars, and all the guitars in that top 10 will be great guitars, because I'm planning to try at least 30 guitars or even more. So the 10 guitars that will be picked are great guitars, all of them, even number 10. And I will be giving my top 10, and Tommy Davey will comment a little bit on maybe the construction or history of some of the guitars. And one thing I wanted to say is that it is impossible for me to try every guitar by every luthier ever made, but I'm going to do my best to try as many guitars as I can. So I'm planning a trip to Paris, for example, and visit a bunch of the local luthiers. And I've tried many guitars during the festival already, and in Mill Valley I will try more guitars, and in between there will be other opportunities for me to try guitars. So you can look forward to that, and maybe you'll get some new ideas. I will have tried many more luthiers, and the top 10 will probably change a lot. And the second thing I want to tell you is, of course, that I will be performing at the festival in Mill Valley, and I will be performing there with a superstar from Germany, Gizmo Graf, on lead guitar, and Tommy Davey will be joining on rhythm guitar, and Simon Planting on bass. I will be playing violin. That is August 30th to September 2nd. A great festival, great lineup with Anton Boyer will be there, Samuel Lito and Henrik Ecker, and we will have a big concert at the end where we all play together. Then right after that is Jungle Fest Northwest, where I won't be, but it's a great festival anyway. But then after that is the festival in Ireland, where I will be performing with the Stockholm Rosenberg Quartet. More details about the dates are in the description of this video. And then in between, in August, I will be in London to play in the Cucumber with Alban Claret, great guitar player who lives in London. And I will also be hosting some workshops, so please check the description for the details. Okay, let's get back to the rhythm playing. This video is not about the mechanics of rhythm playing, or it could be a little bit, but not in depth, or it's not about how to get a good sound. I will touch upon all of these aspects, but I made very detailed videos about these aspects already, so I will link one of those videos in the description below. But instead, this video will be about the top 3 rhythm mistakes or things that I don't like in rhythm during jams that I've encountered during the jam sessions in Samoreau. Samoreau. And Samoreau is the famous camping site which is occupied almost solely by musicians during the festival, the Jaguar Festival in France, which is now in Fontainebleau, but used to be in Samoa. You might have heard of it. And I've spent there 6 days, 5 days, and you just spend the whole day I spent the whole day at the camping site jamming for easily for 8 to 10 hours a day, maybe even more, with everyone I could find. Every song you could think of, every tempo, every rhythm you could think of. And most of the jams are great, or all of them are great. But there are some things that happens in rhythm playing that can kind of put I don't want to say destroy the jams, but can make the jams somewhat less enjoyable. And I want to talk about some of these things. That's not to say that these things are absolute no-nos in rhythm playing in general, but I do think you have to be very careful with doing these things in jam sessions, because they might be very distracting to solo players, and that might make the jams not as fun as they could be. So I've listed them in the order that I think. I didn't list them in the order of worst or worst to absolute worst, like worst, worst, or worst, but more in the order that I think it would take the time to address it or correct it. So the number 3 mistake is something that is easily fixed. I hope I said that it wasn't too confusing, but you'll see what I mean. So number 3 is just simply playing too loud. And I made other videos where I said that this is the worst thing ever, and it is very bad. But it is easy to address, because you could just say in the session, guys, let's play a little bit softer and give a good example. So what is playing loud? Playing loud means that you just hit the strings as loud as possible every stroke. So it sounds something like this, and I'll be playing Limehouse Blues. So it sounds like this. Like that the whole time. And although it can feel good, and the sound might not be bad, although I don't like that very loud sound, it just forces everyone to play loud as well. So other rhythm players, they might also start playing loud, because one is doing it, so you might not be aware of it and also start playing loud. But for the solo players, this becomes horrendous. They have to play super loud all the time, which will kill a lot of the technique of most lead players. It does for me. I'm basically cannot play any of the double time stuff. I cannot play much on the low strings. I have to basically play as loud as I can, as high as I can, to be heard. And while some lead players might find this very fun, or that's their natural style, for most lead players this is actually not a very musical way to be playing, because you want to be able to make dynamics in your solo and play some soft lines if you want to. And if you then play a loud line or a loud accent, it is more impactful, of course. So the way to fix it is easy. Just play softer. So how do you do that? The way I do it is I use less of the pick surface. So when I play lead, I like to have a big pick surface hitting the string, so I have a full tone. Right, a full tone. But for rhythm playing, I tuck the pick in towards my finger, so that I have a small surface hitting the strings. I keep the pick very loosely, so I don't clench the pick, which also makes for a more forced, louder sound. And I talked about the role of the fingernails in another video, so go check that out. It's the video about rhythm linked in the description. Just make sure that there's a balance between your fingernails and the pick. In fact, I'd say maybe it's mostly the fingernails doing the work, and the pick is just there to give the sound a little body. That's all you need. So notice that I'm accenting the 2 and the 4, but not much, just a little more sweep in the motion than beat 1 and 3, and that I'm playing everything very short, right? So it's short and soft. So whenever I do that accent like that, it's loud, but because everything is so soft, it just sounds cool. It's actually a push for the solo player to maybe give it a little bit more. But for the solo player, it's very easy, very enjoyable to be playing over this kind of rhythm. So that is number 3, just play soft. And it's easy to address whenever you're in a jam, people playing loud. Just say, guys, let's play a little bit softer, and give a good example by playing really soft yourself, but still swinging, of course. Okay. Number 2 is giving too much emphasis on the upstroke, or being too much attached to having an upstroke. And usually that kind of rhythm playing, it's also loosely, it goes hand in hand with loud rhythm playing, but not per se. Then the rhythm sounds like this, very forced, like. So the problem with this is that the rhythm becomes pretty busy. Also, when several people are doing this, nobody is timing that upstroke the same time usually, so it sounds very sloppy. So the way to get around this is by focusing only on the downstrokes. So don't even care about the upstrokes. Don't even try to do an upstroke. If you watch that video linked in the description, I talk about the upstroke being just a function of the fingernails going up. I never make an upstroke with the pick. Of course, you could do that, and it could actually sound great, but I don't do it. I just play downstrokes. And sometimes my fingernails will hit the strings on the upstroke. And because it is only my fingernails, first of all, it's not really loud, but also when I do that, I try to make that upstroke as close to the next beat as possible. So the upstroke is always before beat 2 and 4, so make it as close to beat 2 and 4 as possible. If you want to do an upstroke. It doesn't matter what the tempo is. If you play it slowly, the upstroke, it's almost nothing. I don't focus on it. And when I do hit an upstroke, it's only with my fingernails. But for me, I generally try not to focus on the upstrokes at all. It's just something that happens. And once you get a good downstroke rhythm going, then you could add in the upstroke with your fingernails again, especially during jam sessions with more guitar players. Whatever you do in your own group, where you have a certain thing going, certain sound going, where you work on stuff together and you rehearse, that's all up to you. But when you're in a jam session with people you don't know, that maybe like to play lead with a softer volume, or like to play more straight or something, then that upstroke might actually kind of ruin their flow. That's what you don't want. So just focus on downstrokes. So sometimes you hear an upstroke in there, but it's not something that I focus on. And the funny thing is also, actually, this is not in my top 3, but maybe I should say that people that focus a lot on upstrokes also tend to slow down a lot. So because the upstroke takes so much effort, especially if you have to play a session with maybe 5 guitar players, with everybody taking 2 or 3 choruses, then that upstroke might actually make you slow down, which is the worst thing that could happen in a jam session, because then the song will drag. So only focusing on upstrokes, and especially trying to make that second beat a little bit more accented, so that the rhythm swings will make sure that the tempo also stays consistent. Okay, which brings me to the number one worst thing you could do as a rhythm player, and that is having a weird rhythm style. And I could make a top 10 weird rhythm styles, but I'm just gonna show you some of the weirdest things I've heard. The first one is where you play long, short, long, short, long, short the whole time. I'm not talking about ballad where you could do that, but I'm talking about just medium swing or fast swing where the rhythm sounds like this. So the thing is, if you do this, then you are actually turning what the rhythm should sound like around, right? The focus should be on the second and the fourth beat. That should have the accent. By doing the first and the third beat are much more noticeable, and then the result will be a complete mess, because some people will be trying to do it the proper way, and one guy is doing the result, the combination of this sounds just pretty awful. And I've been in jam sessions where this was happening for a whole hour. You know, I'm not gonna say, you know what, to the person that's doing this, you know what, you're doing it wrong, man. I won't say that. That's why it's number one. It's very difficult to address. So I hope that everybody watches this video. If you are one of the players that's doing this, try to correct it, and you correct it by letting go of the chord after every beat, so that there's no more long chord in your rhythm. And if you think, okay, that's very stressful for my hand, that means that you're pressing too hard. You want to press very lightly so that everything is half muted. And if you want to know more about that, again, watch the video. If you half mute, it's no problem letting go of the chords after every beat, even when the tempo is very fast. And also then notice that I'm giving an accent on the second and fourth beat. Right? If you play very fast with long short, it sounds like this. A little bit exaggerated maybe, but it doesn't swing. It is not supportive to a swinging solo. Okay, let's go to the next weird rhythm style I think I've encountered, which sounds something like this. So what am I doing? I'm just making random rhythmical variations. But the most basic version of this would be that every 2 bars you do an extra stroke. So it would sound like this. That's already very annoying, because it shouldn't be part. If you do this every 2 bars, now it's just part of the common rhythm, and it shouldn't be part of the rhythm. It's very makes every third and fourth beat of every second bar very heavy, which again disturbs the flow of the solo player, but also it's only the start, right? I've heard people do this, but then add a lot of other random stuff, long chords all of a sudden. I can understand it if you're the lead player and you're accompanying a solo violin player. Again, you have to be careful with it, but I can see you want to be a little bit more busy as a lead player. But if you are jamming with a bunch of guitar players, which happens a lot in Samoreau, most of the time, then this kind of rhythm playing is very, very annoying, I can tell you. And this actually kills the jam. And the problem is that the people that are doing it, they don't notice themselves. You know, they feel great about it. And one thing you can notice that when they play solo, and if nobody else is doing it, it sounds very quiet, relaxed, and there's room for this player. But then at the moment they start playing rhythm, it becomes very busy. But of course they never notice it themselves, but because when they're playing solo themselves, it is not happening. So the way to fix it is just get rid of all the random strokes and just play straight rhythm. just play soft straight rhythm like I've been demonstrating a couple of times as a start. And then, if you want to add some embellishments, you could do it when it feels right. But be very careful. Better not to do it at all. All right, or just very occasionally. If you want to play this, that little thing, I would do it maybe once every chorus, maybe right before the bridge or something, right? Or right before the chorus ends. So let's say it's the ending of Lama's Blues. That's cool, right? That gives an extra push for the solo player, for the lead player. But don't do this all the time. Okay, another weird rhythm style I've found is where there's no difference between the first and the second beat, right? I've been talking about this a couple of times, that you should accent the third and fourth. Not too much, but it should be a difference. But if every beat sounds the same, like this, or now I don't hear this a lot, exactly not especially not like I'm doing now, but I do hear it a little bit. And the thing is that if you are incapable of making a clear difference between the first and second beat, your rhythm will never really swing, which again is not supportive to the flow of the solo player. So if you record yourself and you can not really hear the difference between the first and second beat, it's something you have to work on. And the thing I like to, there's several ways of approaching it. One way is to think of the first and third beat more as a, people call it a rake, and the second and fourth beat as a snap. So it's not something you can do fast, but it's to train your ears to hear the difference. Now when you do it fast, you cannot do that, but you could still kind of feel it that way. Another thing is to just look at it as a physical thing, right? So the first and third beat, you want to hit a couple of the lower strings, maybe the lowest three strings, even if one of the strings is muted. And for the second and fourth beat, you want to have a little bit more sweep and hit more strings, maybe 5 strings. In the end, it all comes down to the same thing. You want to be able to play soft and swinging, right? So soft is just the volume, and swinging means that you can make a difference between the first and second beat. So I hope everybody who jams in Samoreau or any other jams will watch this video and correct these things if you do them, right? I might do them occasionally too, right? Maybe I have an annoying habit that I haven't noticed myself. So I'll be listening to myself playing rhythm and correcting those too. But these are just 3 of the things I've noticed at Samoreau. And those things become especially frustrating if you jam for 10 hours a day, which you do there for 5 days straight. Then the 4th day, this happens, the jams kind of break up if somebody plays rhythm like this. And you don't want to be the person breaking up jams with annoying rhythm habits. And the thing is, probably you won't notice even yourself, so you have no idea why it's happening. So it's not to put the blame on people or get angry at them. It's just something you should be aware of by recording yourself and listening to yourself. And when someone else in a jam says something about it, don't take it the wrong way too much. I can understand that it's kind of confrontational, but when people say, guys, let's play soft, or could you play a little bit softer, it is actually meant in the best way, because people want to keep continuing jamming with you. Otherwise they would just break up the jam and find another one. Okay, I'll be back soon with another video about lead playing again, but I thought it was important to make this video for all the future jams that will happening at festivals everywhere. Okay? I will see you next time. Bye.